Hello viewers, Social Work Research and Fieldwork. Introduction. This lesson examines fieldwork training in social work education in relation to social work research. The lesson highlights the multifaceted nature of fieldwork training while suggesting that fieldwork training in social work and social work research are closely associated with the nature of learning in fieldwork setting, and as such, they need to be integrated to make fieldwork a scientific process in social work education. Let us first examine the process of social work research and fieldwork in social work. Objectives of this lesson. On completion of this lesson, you would learn about similarities between the process of social work research and fieldwork training and integration of social work research and fieldwork training. Now, let us look into the concept of social work research. In a very broad sense, social work research refers to systematic study of the problems related with the theory and practice of social work. It includes the study of concepts, principles, theories, values, ethics, underlying social work methods and skills. Social work draws heavily from social and biological sciences. There is a great need to properly coordinate and assimilate these to form a strong logical base for social work theory. As they are assumed to be universal, there has been hardly any effort to test it for cross-cultural application. For example, social work principles have been taken for granted and the need for testing them has not been felt, nor has the proposal to subject current social work principles to a logical and theoretical inquiry has been made. Although social work has now a core basic concepts which are universal, the application of these concepts and principles vary according to the needs, traditions and economic conditions of the clientele group which is to be served. There are hardly any differences to test the validity of the concepts regarded necessary for social work theory or to test the efficacy of specific techniques. Research can give answers to many such issues and play the key role in raising the professional standards of social work. The major goal of social work research is to build the social work knowledge base in order to solve problems in social work practice. Hence, social work research through the application of research methods helps to generate knowledge that social workers need to solve problems they confront in the practice of social work. The knowledge is useful and essential in updating the methods and techniques of social work. It provides information that social workers need prior to making practice decisions that affect their clients' programs or agencies, such as use of alternative intervention techniques or change or modification of program, client objectives and so forth. Now, let us see what is the field work in social work. Social work as a practice based profession requires field work training. To become professional social workers, the students need to learn various skills and techniques through the fieldwork training. Social work as a practice based profession requires a combination of knowledge base and fieldwork training. Both the classroom instructions and fieldwork training are important for students to become professional social workers. In both classroom and fieldwork setting, the process of training is important for social work students to help them acquire and improve the attitudes, values, skills and knowledge needed for the profession of social work. Training enables social work students to become qualified and competent professional social workers. It begins from the day a student visits fieldwork agency for the first time and continues throughout his fieldwork placement with social work agencies. Thus, training affects the entire educational process and is therefore considered as a long-term developmental process. Now, there is a gap between social work education and fieldwork training. What is that? The greatest drawback of social work education has been the lack of fit between teaching social work research theory courses and conducting research project and fieldwork training. Social work research theory course are taught independently of fieldwork courses, and most of the social work students prefer to undertake a research project outside their fieldwork setting. Moreover, fieldwork training draws more from practice wisdom than from social work theory courses. Consequently, research and fieldwork are treated independently at the training level, and the approach therefore continues in post-training career of social workers. The gulf between researchers and practitioners over the years has widened. Researchers frequently complain that practitioners ignore their pertinent and important findings. Now, practitioners consider much of the university stimulated research irrelevant and express their inability to use it. Such gaps have been widened by the belief that same person cannot be both a good researcher and a practitioner. Such beliefs has been sustained by the facts that social work researchers hardly find time to practice. Conversely, the practitioners, due to their preoccupation with service delivery system, are least concerned about research. Both the contentions underscore the need to solidify the relationship between research and fieldwork by integrating research and fieldwork. Thus, as research and fieldwork have been taught independent to each other, most of the time research is not practice oriented, and as such the findings do not affect social work knowledge and practice. Steps in conducting social work research. In conducting social work research, there are various activities in which researcher engages themselves. Although each research study is unique in some ways, all research studies, regardless of the phenomena being studied, involve by and large the following common steps. Step 1. Identification of research problem. The first step in conducting a research study is the identification of a suitable problem. In each area field of social sciences, innumerable problems exist. The choice of a suitable problem is one of the most difficult tasks for a researcher, especially if he or she is a beginner, because it is the initial step and provides the basis for complete research study. Problem formulation is of crucial importance. Many potential serious research problems can be avoided or at least minimized by careful process of research formulation. Step 2. Research design. The second step in conducting a research study is to develop a research design. A research design is a detailed plan outlining how the research study would be conducted. Research design addresses itself to some key issues, each as who will be the respondents, how these respondents will be selected, and what data will be collected from them, etc. Step 3. Data collection. There are several tools of data collection varying in design, operation, complexity of feature and interpretation. In order to collect the requisite data for a research study, researchers are required to devise and use suitable tools of data collection. In certain situations, researchers select standardized scales already available. In other situations, researchers may find that existing tools of data collection do not suit the purpose or objective of research, and therefore, they may like to modify them or develop their own tools of data collection. Each tool of data collection is appropriate for collecting a particular type of data. Step 4. Data analysis. It is advisable to prepare a plan of analysis for data, spelling out the various applications of statistical test carefully while the study is being designed. It is better to have a planned strategy that can be adapted than to end up with piles of data for which you have no organized plan. Researchers also compare or contrast different variables. In addition, one seeks to consider which statistical test he or she is planning to apply to evaluate the association or differences between the variables. For example, if you propose to measure correlation between the variables to test whether there are significant correlations between them, you have to select an appropriate test of correlation that could get the results you need. Now, step 5, drawing conclusions. The final step in conducting social work research is to draw conclusions from the data analysis. The drawing of conclusion depends on the goals, objectives of the study. For example, a descriptive study would simply present what was found, or an explanatory research, on the other hand, usually will have hypotheses stated before the data are collected. In this case, drawing of conclusions very much depends on whether hypotheses are accepted or rejected. Now, let us see what are the steps in fieldwork training. Fieldwork training consists of various components such as concurrent fieldwork in community or in agency, block placement, etc. Further, fieldwork training can be in different settings of fieldwork. To name a few, health setting like hospitals, community health centers, primary health centers, clinic, etc. or correctional settings like prisons, police stations, juvenile justice system, trainings or schools and administration of parole services, etc. Or if we say educational setting like schools, non-formal education, education institutes, etc. Therefore, fieldwork training will include various activities. Although each fieldwork component or fieldwork setting is unique in some ways, regardless of fieldwork component or fieldwork setting, fieldwork training involves by and large the following common steps. Step 1, problem assessment. The first step in fieldwork training is the identification of client or problem in community setting or fieldwork agency. In a community or an agency, innumerable problems may exist. The fieldwork trainee needs to identify a case or a problem on which he or she is going to work during his or her training period. It is a difficult task for a fieldwork trainee, especially when he or she is a beginner. Therefore, the trainee is placed under a faculty supervisor who is supposed to guide the trainee in identifying the client or problems of the community. This is as much same as the researcher's identification and selection of research problem. In problem formulation, a student researcher in consultation with his or her research supervisor makes judgment concerning the feasibility of research study. Similarly, in a problem assessment, the fieldwork trainee has to decide whether it is behavioral problem or social problem or environmental problem, and also he needs to consider whether effective intervention is possible. The second step in fieldwork training is the formulation of intervention strategy. This is just as researchers develop a research design. Out of different research designs like survey research design, exploratory design, descriptive or explanatory design or experimental research designs or pre-experimental, quasi-experimental and true experimental designs, researchers choose which he or she considers appropriate to achieve the goals for his or her research study. On similar lines, fieldwork trainee requires to choose generally one among various intervening strategies like crisis intervention, behavior modification or vocational training. But it is also possible that the trainee needs to select more than one intervention strategy like crisis interventions and behavior modification. Step 3, implementation of intervention strategy. After the formulation of intervention strategy, the fieldwork trainee implements it as outlined in the preceding step. Fieldwork trainees study the client and collect information about the clients for the need assessment, diagnosis and treatment. Step 4, evaluation. In this step, fieldwork trainee evaluates the effectiveness of intervention strategy on implemented at the preceding stage. He or she tries to find out if the goals were achieved or if there were any undesirable effects of the changes brought about by the intervention. The final step of fieldwork training is the closure of the case. This is just as drawing and conclusion for by the researcher. The extent to which intervention has been effective must be determined and informed. Closure of the fieldwork trainee is usually done when the problem assigned to the fieldwork trainee is solved and the goals of the agency is achieved, and when it is clear that now the client will be able to manage their lives by themselves. This is the formal ending of agency worker relationship. It is an essential step in fieldwork training as it officially ends the social work trainee fieldwork agency relationship, which enables the trainee to move completely to other fieldwork assignment and the client to move on with his life. In many agencies, in the beginning of the fieldwork training process itself, they give an idea about the termination stage 2. The steps of social work research and social work training are presented in this table. If you can see, step 1 in social work research is identification of research problem, whereas step 1 in fieldwork training is problem assessment. Step 2 in social work research is development of research design. Now, step 2 in fieldwork training is formulation of intervention strategy. Step 3 in social work research is data collection, whereas in fieldwork training it is implementation. Step 4 in social work research is data analysis. Now, the same step 4 in fieldwork training is evaluation. The final step, step 5 in social work research is drawing of conclusion, whereas the final step in fieldwork training is closure. Integrating research and practice. Integrating social work research and fieldwork training can be initiated from the very first stage of fieldwork training. Student may be helped to develop a research design and undertake a study of the problem of individuals or groups or communities during their fieldwork training. The result of the study can serve as a baseline data. This can be followed by different levels of intervention as part of the fieldwork practice. The students can be encouraged to use research techniques to evaluate the effectiveness of the intervention. Results of the intervention can be discussed in fieldwork seminars. Finally, the research report may be submitted along with the report of fieldwork of the students. The discussion on integration of social work research and fieldwork training are presented in table 2. Step 1 is problem assessment, which is done through fieldwork. Step 1 again continues as identification of research problem through social work research. Step 2, in fieldwork we would be formulating the intervention strategies, and through social work research we would develop a research design. Step 3, in fieldwork we would implement the intervention, and in the same step with the use of social work research we would be collecting the data. Step 4, evaluation done in fieldwork and data analysis done through social work research. Last step 5, closure in the fieldwork, and by using social work research we try to draw the conclusions of the data. From the discussions in the preceding sessions, it appears that there are similarities and linkages between social work research and fieldwork training. The linkage involves the contribution that research can make to fieldwork training and vice versa. In fact, it makes a strong case of integrating social work research and fieldwork training. Social work research offers an opportunity for all social work trainees to make difference in their fieldwork. There is no doubt about the fact that social work trainees will be more effective practitioners guided by findings of social work research. Thus, Social work research seeks to accomplish the same humanistic goals as does the social work method. Social work research deals with those methods and issues which are useful in evaluating social work programs and practices. It explains the methodology of social research and illustrates its application in social work setting. Let's summarize the whole session. Although research is different in many respects from practice, there are significant similarities between the two, which if integrated can help social work trainee have better understanding of the problems and provide services accordingly. Research begins with problem formulation. Having formulated a researchable problem, researchers develop a research design. Next stage in research is data collection, and the final step is to draw conclusion by analyzing the data. In the same way, practitioners first assess the problems to decide the behavior system as far as possible. After that, practitioners develop a strategy for intervention that will be effective in elevating the problem specified in the assessment stage. This is followed by implementation of the intervention strategies. Finally, the practitioners evaluate the effectiveness of the intervention strategies implemented. Practice based social work research offers an opportunity for social work trainees to make significant differences in their professional standards and accountability to their interventions. Steps like interlinking research with fieldwork, teaching research in social work with emphasis is on problem or fieldwork settings will provide a strong scientific basis for social work training.